They say that hindsight is 2020. Well, we are in the year 2020, and I am welcoming you to my Blossom Hindsight channel. I know I have been MIA for a while. Up until a few weeks ago, I was juggling my life. But now, like you, my life has come to a standstill based upon the coronavirus pandemic. So I've been going back through some of my videos, and one thing that I'm asking myself now is, are you mentally healthy? For those of you who are my subscribers, you know that I asked that question in 2018. Are you mentally healthy? It was a general question that I posed just for people to kind of evaluate their mental health in an often stressful and busy world. And in the context of where we are now, in the context of this pandemic, I'm asking that question once again, especially in this situation of crisis, in this situation of fear, in this situation of anticipated doom and gloom. It's a time where most people who are living now have never experienced anything along these lines. I mean, I'm in my 50s and I have never experienced something like this. I know that my children and grandchildren have not. And even asking my mother if she ever saw a time like this, and she is in her 80s and she has not. So this is a very strange and troubling time for the entire world. Feel free to watch the video and leave your comments in terms of how are you coping and keeping yourself balanced at this time. So I'm asking myself this week the question, are you mentally healthy, Blossom Hindsight? Now the reason why I'm asking this question is that I've noticed that on social media I'm seeing an increasing amount of posts being sent to me about the issue of mental health. People are sharing, posting, liking, etc. The greater concerns and awareness about mental health issues. But what is mental health? I went ahead and Googled it, and the definition is a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. That's why I'm asking this question, are you mentally healthy, Blossom Hindsight? And in order for me to answer that question honestly and openly, I do have to go back to how I was raised and what mental health meant to me from that time to now. Now I can tell you that back in the days, issues of mental health were not discussed. I think that the farther you go back into history, you'll know that there was a lot of stigma and stereotyping in terms of people that were considered to be off. So I can definitely say that how I grew up was a reflection of a time when it was not socially acceptable to have open discussion about one's mental health, to have open discussion about one's psychological and emotional well-being. Now, as an example, I remember that my mother used to threaten us with this term, and she would say, "Don't let them send me to Claybury." don't let them send me to Claybury. Now, for those of you who may not know, there was a hospital in London that was built, I think, in the late 1800s, and it was called Claybury Psychiatric Hospital. It was a pretty big hospital back then. I think it was actually pulled down or renovated within the last 20 years. So it's no longer a psychiatric hospital. But you get the point when my mother would threaten us as young kids who are making too much noise in the house, getting on her last nerve. She would say, don't let them take me to Claybury Hospital. So that's really, when I think about it, one of the few times that the issue of any type of mental health was ever discussed in my household. And that's not a surprise, because you know that if you've watched one of my other videos, that I was raised in a culture and a tradition that doesn't really talk about things. And if you haven't watched the video Talking Too Much, or Are You Talking Too Much, Blossom Hinesight, then go ahead and watch that, because that will kind of give you a backdrop in terms of why issues such as mental health were not really brought up in the household. So with that question asked, are you mentally healthy? I'm thinking, how did we learn to handle mental health issues? I think that we pretty much did what we were taught to do from our parents, etc. We learned to suppress our issues. We learned to pray about them. We learned to forget about them. We just learned to move on and get on with life, because mental health issues were, I think, so stereotyped back in the days that it was there was no room to talk about. There was no outlet to talk about them. So I ask that question: are you mentally healthy? Not only to myself, but to you, just to think on. I do realize that I'm asking that more and more to myself, to kind of keep myself in check. We can't live in a society that's so out of balance and not check ourselves to see to what degree are we being impacted. So I'm checking myself, I'm taking stock of me, and I'm saying, okay, what keeps you in balance? And some of the things that I would say is writing. That keeps me in balance. Music keeps me in balance. Being with family keeps me in balance. I'm going to pose this question to you. Are you mentally healthy? And if so, how are you keeping balanced? Leave your comments in terms of how are you coping and keeping yourself balanced at this time. You never know that someone will read your comment and it could be a lifeline, because this is a very strange time and all of us want to be able to come through on the other side of this intact.